Good afternoon. It is time for our weekly update on what we're doing in math, and this is just to cover and to clarify some questions that I've received this week about percentages and why we're doing that with fractions, because we're comparing fractions, and I think based on the history of teaching fifth grade math, it's easier to compare fractions whenever you understand the percentages. So what we've done is we have a 10 by 10 grid here. And whenever we're dealing with percentages, we're always dealing with 100. So what we have here is we have a third. So we go ahead and we break this up into three separate thirds right there. And then we break this one up into thirds as well. And then I break this last one up into thirds. So each one is worth 30. So there, and if I said I wanted 1/3, I shade in this. Then what I can do is I can shade in 1/3 of this, 1/3 of this, 1/3 of this, and 1/3 of that. And that equals 30, 31, 32, 33, 33, and 1/3%. Then what the students can do is they can add 33 and 1/3 plus 33 and 1/3, and that equals 2/3, which is 66 and 2/3%. So by knowing a third, they can solve the problem. Then what we do is we come down to 1/6. So what I do is I do the same thing. I break it up into thirds again, except this time I want to break it up into a sixth. So right there's a sixth, right here's a sixth, and then I break this up into sixes as well. Okay, and try to do that. It's kind of hard to show there. But then this equals 4/6, okay? And then let's say this, and 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. Then I shade this in right here, and that equals 15 plus 1 is 16, so I come up with 16 and 2/3. And then each 1/6 is worth 16 and 2/3. Then I do the same thing here for a fourth. So what I do is I come in here and I break it in half first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Break that right there, and then I break the half again. Okay, so I go right there, and then each fourth is worth 25. 25, 25, 25. So 1/4 is worth 25%. Then I come here and I do the same thing for an eighth as I break that up into half, then I break it up into a fourth, and then how do I make an eighth? I break that fourth up into half, or cut it in half, and then 1/8, I go ahead and shade that in, and 1/8 is half of 1/4, which is 12 and a half. So each eighth is 12.5%, and then I can build upon that. So if I know what 1/3 is, 1/6, 1/4, 1/8, I can go ahead and fill in the percentages. Then what I do is I come here and I figure out a fifth. So what I do is I go ahead and I break this up into fifths. So right there, and each fifth is worth 20. So we know that 1/5 is 20%. Then, for a tenth, I just break it up into singles right here, just like so. And you could see that each tenth is worth 10. So 1/10 is 10%. Then what the students can do is they can come over here and they can fill in, okay? They already know what 1/2 is. They know 1/3 is 33 and 1/3%. 25 for 1/4. 1/5 is 20%. 1/6 is 16 and 2/3. 1/8 is 12.5. And then 1/10 is 10. Then what they can do is they can say, okay, 2/4 is 50. All right, 50, 50, and 50. Then they can find out, okay, what's equivalent here? 66 and 2/3. I just go ahead and add that up. And then I know 4/6 is also 66 and 2/3. I know that 1/3 is the same as 2/6, which is 33 and 1/3. So you can see that based on what they know, that it's very easy to fill this in. That's why we go over the percentages, and when we're comparing fractions and ordering fractions, by knowing the percent, they know what it means, as opposed to trying to draw, let's say, 1/6 and 1/8. Those are very close, and it's hard to be that precise. So there we go. We are working on adding fractions right now with unlike denominators, and we're going over the same way that you and I learned as far as finding the least common multiple and then multiplying the fractions so the denominators are the same. Have a great weekend.